الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا
What we're
الله.
seeing now in Bangladesh, it's not new. She actually cried because the metro station was destructed. Students were attacked in the dormitories, students were attacked in the street. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. As you all know, and you have seen what's been happening in Bangladesh in the last 11 days, we have seen. I think what we need to realize is this situation in Bangladesh, it hasn't come out of a bubble. It's been boiling to the point. That's what happened. But to really understand where it's got to, you have to understand where Bangladesh came from as well. So if you think about what happened with Bangladesh, obviously it was part of Pakistan, and then it separated in 1971, and then Mujib's family came into power, and then there was a military coup, and then the military took over Bangladesh for many years. And then obviously what happened was General Ershad, he took over as well in the early 80s, and again ran it via military. The only time they had elections was after Ershad. There was Hasina and Khaleda and the Jamaat and the BNP and the Awami League, and they became now the parties that fought for elections. So some years Hasina will come in, and then she'll get Khaleda out. Khaleda will come in, and then Hasina will get her out. It was tit for tat. Until recently, when Hasina, who was in exile in the UK, and prominent MPs, not naming them, helped Hasina go back to Bangladesh, and she won the election. And after that, she's been trying to hold on to power. It's been 3 elections that she's held on to. You can't even call it elections, but that's what happened. And the opposition has, the BNP has been, eradicated. Most of them are either dead, most of them are either on the run, or most of them are living in the Western countries like in the UK, Switzerland, France, America as well. So she's been running the country recently like that. And generally people in Bangladesh, they just go on with their lives, with their economy and with their family situation and stuff like that. So they didn't really, there wasn't a big issue with Hasina. But what happened even before 2018, there was many. So what we're seeing now in Bangladesh, it's not new. There have been many movements in Bangladesh during those last 3 terms that Hasina has been in power, where many people have taken to the street, and what's happened is there's been a heavy clampdown. You've seen when the party, the Islamic party, I forgot the name of it, they came to the streets in Dhaka, and then they came out in the night and they shot them. There was many other student protests in recent times, and they were all also, heavy-handedly taken down. So what happened in 2018 was students, and they call it the quota movement, because what happened was the quota is, so what Bangladesh had a system of government jobs is a quota, and in 2018 they wanted this quota system to go because a lot of, if you know in Bangladesh, people study hard, people really want to go. I think education is their way out of poverty. They invest a lot of their money and time, parents do, in the school structure. But when they go to the jobs, very few jobs are there. So what happened was, the system that they had at that time was that 30% of those jobs will go to those of the people that helped during the Liberation War. Their relatives and extended relatives will always get that 30% of jobs, and 40% was given to on merit to everyone else, and there was like 5% for disability, 5% for women, something else for 1% for disabled, stuff like that. So people said it's already competitive, there's already corruption. So these students in 2018 led a protest, and at that time, again, if you remember, there was a heavy clampdown on it. Again, people lost their lives, not as much as this time, but they lost their lives. And Hasina actually backed down and accepted, you know what, we're gonna, get rid of this quota system. So she got rid of it because our elections were coming up. So after the elections, recent times, she put out a memorandum that she's gonna bring back this quota system, and that's when these students took to the street again and saying, what is this? You said you're going to get it off. And she said, no, the court needs to decide now whether we can get this back or not. But the students went out, and then we've seen what we saw on the streets. It started off peacefully, but as we know in Bangladesh, they will put the military forces, the police, and the RAB, and the Awami League supporters, who you can see on the videos side by side. They were shooting people, attacking them, basically causing people to fight, and then they can say that these guys are the bad guys as well, so that's why we're trying to support them. And then we saw the actual numbers of people. They say 200 died, but it's very hard to collaborate how many people died. There's reports that hospitals or hundreds of bodies were getting in. Many reports, even now, Al Jazeera was saying the death toll is hard to gain because a lot of people didn't take their bodies straight to the hospital. If they died, they just straight to the burials, into the villages and stuff like that. So it was hard to, ascertain what was happening. So obviously there was a lot of, Hasina thought maybe she'll do the same thing again in the previous 7 times that there's been protests, send the goons in, send the police in, let's just batter them, kill them, and they'll run away. This time, it didn't, and people got more and more brave, and people got more and more upset. Students were attacked in the dormitories, students were attacked in the street. They didn't care about women, they didn't care about, even children got killed, and they just went on the rampage. And what dictator does is to contain it, cut the internet, the whole country got blank out. And that's the way, because it was just exploding. If it went on further, who knows where they would have gone. But there was a very growing protest as well. Then we've seen, obviously, in recent hours and days, the internet's come back, the broadband's back, the mobile data is slowly coming back, and the scale of damage is now quite large. I'm not sure if you've seen the picture of Hasina going to the metro station. She actually cried because the metro station was destructed, like in ruins. But people are saying, this woman what's wrong with her? People, civilians and students have died, and she's crying over a metro station. The tears are flowing, but where's the tears for the students that have died? If this was in any other country, its leader would go and see people in hospital. No, but she's going to see her supporters in hospital, not the people that have been injured. Apparently thousands have been injured in these protests, and that's not been really explained. So we've seen protests here in Bangladesh. We've seen protests everywhere, in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, in Qatar, in Jordan. It was like, if you see the protests in Jordan, thousands of Bengali women work as housemaids in Jordan, thousands. So they came out in the street as well. Then you had protests in the UK, you had protests in France, protests in America. So it became a global issue, and people felt that pressure, felt that this is the time to remove it. But what it seems like now at the moment is the situation. She has gained the protesters' demands. They had 9 demands. Now their demands are, at the moment, they just want the internet back. They want they want to go back to universities. And she has said that the quota system will be reduced. So now it's 5% to the people, that's the relatives of the liberation war. So that has placated a few of the protesters. So this court judgment was meant to be, I think, in August. But because of the whole situation, she told the judge, bring it forward. Let's make a decision right now. That's why they made a decision now that it's going to be 5%. So in a way, the students have won. But the cost of this country, the cost they're saying of the cost of this whole issue has affected Bangladesh. People are commenting whether Bangladesh is a place now safe. Is it a volatile? Is it a place where they can do business? With the garments and tech. They're saying the economy lost billions. All the factories were closed. All the ports were closed. All the remittances, people couldn't give remittances. Healthcare, everything came to a stop for those days that it hasn't done. So the long-term effects, we don't know yet. But at the moment, she's hanging on, still in power. But what we have to see is the situation is, looking at Bangladesh and what way it's going. This is, you can make it out to be a Hasina thing, we can just focus on Hasina. But, we have to realize that it doesn't matter if it was Hasina in power or whether it's Khaleda in power, they would do the same. This is secular politics, this is secular aims and benefits that they would do the same. And they have done it. So these parties, whether it's Hasina, whether it's Khaleda and BNP or Awami League, or Jamaat or any other parties, they all have the same aims. And if they're in power, they would just do the same things it's a textbook that everyone does it. And Hasina has done it, Khaleda has done it during her term. When protests happen, she will just crush them. So it is a growing, we shouldn't make this issue about Bangladesh, about Hasina. It is a system issue where both the system creates people like the BNP, the Awami League, and the secular parties that bring out this bloodshed, bring out this oppression, the people, and people, they claim to be a democratic country, and they're proud to say it, but people have seen recently how democratic it has been when people's rights and voices have not been heard, and they have been shooting people like it's a war. If you see the clips, like they just shoot people with guns, you've seen some horrific videos of people being chopped up live, and it's like there's no care for humanity or as a human being. This person being just chopped up, people being attacked. A lot of people have been arrested and put in prison. So it's not an issue about, we shouldn't make an issue about it's Hasina and she has to go. It doesn't matter who comes in power, the issue will remain. The issue is not going to go away if Hasina goes away. There will be someone else to replace her, whether that's Khaleda's party or other parties. At the end of the day, this is how dictators and how oppressive countries, remain in power. And they have time and time again shown this is the way we need to remain in power. So this, if we look at, obviously, we've seen the military come onto the streets. Military, some say there's been occasions where the military has opened fire, but we have to verify that. But there's been videos to show that military has been. So the military, most of the military, from what we can see, actually abstained and just protected government buildings. So most of the damage and most of the murders and torture has been done by the Rapid Action Battalion and Awami League, goons, and the police as well. Those are the main culprits that killed the majority of the people. So we've seen the country now, and where is it going? It's in a mess. She was meant to go to Spain, she was meant to go Brazil, but all of that has stopped because of this protest. This at the moment, she's the countries, they feel that they've won, and there's been a huge campaign, if you see on social media, by the Awami League, and they're blaming the BNP. So they're not blaming the student, they're saying the students are innocent. It's all the BNP's fault. BNP did this, BNP are the ones that made it worse. And they're posting videos of BNP leaders making statements saying, look, they're inciting hatred, they're killing police officers. It's a pure PR game to make sure that it's all about BNP. And it's easy to blame them because obviously they don't want to anger the students as well. So what we see now is a country of 170 million, that relies heavily on remittances. They say, Bangladesh is a successful country economically, but if you dig deep and you dig deeper, you see most of the success has been by debt, by infrastructure projects by either India or infrastructure projects by China. And this has been obviously showcased to say Bangladesh is progressing, Bangladesh is doing well, we need to back the country. So what is the future for Bangladesh? Is these politics, Awami League, BNP, this is not going to make any of the country successful because these people are only come for short term. They only want to hold on to power. They have a legacy to either their father's legacy or to their husband's legacy, but they do not care for the long-term vision of Bangladesh as a country that they want to progress. So if we look at what next for Bangladesh, if people are appeased, this will just trigger up again in a few years' time when something else might trigger off, something else, another economic policy might come along and trigger this. So it's not going to end now. It's stopped now for now, but it's going to revive, and again it'll come again. And this is what you're going to get if you vote in. So some people say if we get rid of Hasina, all our problems will go. She's the problem. She's not the problem. The system that they have is the problem. They'll just put another Hasina in there. Some people say let's put the BNP back. That's the solution. Is that the solution? We've seen they've come many times. What have they done? Looted the country, as corrupt as the Awami League. Some people say we should get rid of everyone and get new leaders in. Who knows where that's going to go? But the future is not bright. I mean, at the moment you got Hasina, who's a successor. There's not many. There's not many that you can see would succeed her. There's not like she's making a successor for her. It's her. She is the party. She is the country. Again with Khalida, she's ill. What's next for her? She is the main person, and and her son's in exile. Hasina's her son's in America. So you got this can go on and on, but this issue about the country and where it's going is not in this current system, and at the end of the day, it does not look after the welfare of the people. It doesn't look after their rights. People, the basic rights are not given. So they say that in Bangladesh, more and more people, the gap between the rich and the poor is widening every day, and there is a lot of, if you go to parts of Dhaka, Gulshan area, you'll see it's like the West. But if you go to some parts of, in the inner cities or in the slums in Dhaka, you see the complete opposite. So there's an increase in disparity of the rich and the poor. You see, why do, if it's a successful country, why do millions want to leave? Everyone we know, Bengalis are all our cousins, everyone. Everyone wants to go. No one wants to stay and help the country. There's nothing there. There's no hope. If you go to school, you go through primary, secondary, college, go to university, you're going to get a job unless you know someone top high level, like a politician, or unless you're paying corruption. That's the way you get jobs. And that's the sad fact. So what do people do? They're looking at the first thing to do is they're trying to flee and go to another country like everyone else would do, but there's no hope for their family or future as well. So, economically it's in a situation where at the moment it's okay, but when China and India come looking for their debt, or you miss a debt payment, then it could be another, what's it called? Sri Lanka as well. But generally that's in a nutshell. We can open up in Q&A what's going to happen, but we need to, our vision should be this country, it needs Islam. That's what it is. It needs Islam, it needs Islamic leadership, it needs the rulership away from man to the ruling of Allah. That's what is needed, a new direction, a new hope. But at the end of the day, we've tried everything for decades with these politics and parties, and what have we got? We have got misery, murder, oppression, and zulm, and injustice. And most of us in this room have connections to Bangladesh. So some of the stuff that we should do is, one, we should always learn about. We should never forget where we came from as Bengalis. I know, sorry, there is one Pakistani guy here, but he's half Bengali anyway. He's half Bengali, he knows Bengali. So, at the end of the day, we're Muslims, but we come from Bangladesh. We should know the history of Bangladesh. We should know what is happening. We should follow it. We shouldn't say, okay, you know what, I don't need to know. We should follow what's happening in Bangladesh. At least know the basics about it. At least know what's happening. Follow it up daily. It's not like when a incident happens like this, we start reading the news and thinking what's happening. We should be following it, making our comments, discussions. Everyone's discussing this, and we should be discussing with our relatives, our families, here and back home about the issue and what we think as well at the end of the day, because people are talking about it everywhere you go, whether you go to weddings, whether you go to a party, or wherever you're at home with your family. Everyone's discussing it, even at work. You've got Bengalis discussing it, they're saying what's happening in Bangladesh. Even non-Muslims discussing. So you should know the basics. You should know the history of the country your parents are from, and learn and keep abreast of the political updates of that country. Also, we should be talking about the solution and saying that the failed politics of secularism and democracy is not working. So we should be offering an alternative and showing them the vision, which is a long-term vision, that any country that is not successful, we should be successful under Islam, as we were in the past. And this is the problem, is democracy and secularism has caused us misery over and over again. Just want to end with a few, we need to have hope as well that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we talks about oppressors, and that we need to remind that these oppressors, I know, we would all like to see these oppressive rulers go, but at the end of the day, we have to believe in Allah, that Allah has the best actions in mind. So Allah says in the Quran, and think not that Allah is unaware of what the oppressors do. He only grants them respite until the day the eyes will stare in horror. So these oppressors, whether it's here, whether it's in Palestine, whether it's in the Muslim world, wherever there been oppression, they're not going to get away with it. Allah has only given them, a little taste here. They might survive for another 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, but a time will come when they will have to die and face their thing. The Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith, beware of the supplication of the oppressed, for there is no barrier between it and Allah. Again, that we need to remind ourselves that, the people that have been oppressed, they made dua, and everyone's angry, everyone's making dua about the oppression that's happened in Bangladesh. So believe me, these duas will be answered. And again, Allah in another ayah, Allah says, Allah does not love the oppressors. And the Prophet ﷺ said in another hadith, in Hadith al-Qudsi, O my slaves, I have forbidden zulm, wrongdoing, unfairness to myself, and I have made it haram, forbidden amongst you, so do not wrong one another. So these are just a reminders that, this oppression, it's not a little thing that's been happening, that people are doing and killing people, torturing them at the moment, putting them in prisons. Thousands are in prisons at the moment. They've been rounded up even after the protests. So they're rounded up, they're tortured, they go missing. You might not see some of these people again. That's how the zulm and oppression is. And we need to have faith that Allah will deliver what's happening in Bangladesh, what's happening in other parts of the world, inshallah. So we will open it up in the Q&A, inshallah.